What's up, guys? We're back at the shop at Main Street Cycle, and I got a little video to show you that I think some of you have had issues with, and I'm going to show you this now, but watch this video clip first. Alright, so first let me go ahead and give an excuse, because everybody's got an excuse, right? I got hung up right there on that skid plate. Oh yeah, that definitely happened. See, that's like a plow, man. I know Joel got through that hole, but I got hung up right on the center hump. But anyways, enough with the excuses. Now let you listen to what is going on with this machine. Not touching the gas. You see how it's moving by itself? Alright, that's the bearing in the primary clutch, and it will not shift
until you turn it off.
Until you turn it off and your primary stops spinning, then you're able to shift. So that squealing noise and not being able to shift is your little bearing on the primary clutch. Now, I'm going to tell you what happened after we take this apart. We're going to take the clutch cover off, take the primary off, and we'll talk about it. Let's take this cover off and see what we got. Oh yeah, look at this. That's definitely signs of dry mud and water. So, I showed you that video clip to show you that I goofed up. I let the back end go way too deep, and even though I was staying on the gas, your inlet for your CVT is way up here. Okay, it's way up here. And then your inlet for your air box is up behind the gauge cluster. But the outlet for your CVT, which is it's sucking air in on this side, and it's got positive pressure blowing out of the outlet here, which actually it goes, I know you can't see it, but it tucks up under the seat. Well, even though I was staying on the gas when the back end was underwater, there was still enough submersion that it was able to suck into the outlet, or it just was able to flow into the outlet and filled this whole box up with water and mud. Now, and it didn't even have to necessarily fill it up, but all it takes is just a little bit. And so you see how dirty that is. It was definitely mud. Let me see if I can turn this brightness up. Okay, maybe you can see a little better now. It's just, you can definitely tell that there was some foul play. And that's not CFMOTO's fault. That would have happened with any machine. And so the way that this is set up, there's a bearing back here on this, in between your primary halves. So we're going to have to take that apart. I'm going to have to clean this whole thing and see what condition that bearing is in. I can either salvage it, or if I can't, if it's just too bad a shape, I'm going to have to replace that bearing. And that's what the cause of the issue was. It wasn't CFMOTO's fault. It's not a design fault. It's my fault for going too deep in mud, and that can happen to you if you're not careful. So if you go, it's okay to go mud riding. We all love to go mud riding, but just know what could happen. You could tear your stuff up, and that's a risk that we were willing to take. You know, we love mud riding down here in Mississippi, and many of you do around the whole nation. And around the world, but just know the cost. Know that you can go too deep, and if I had it snorkeled, I wouldn't have had that problem. So if I got to make my mind up if we're going to mud ride a lot with this machine? If so, we'll snorkel it and we won't have that problem. But anyways, let's get to fixing this. I'm gonna tear this down. I'm probably gonna get Joel over here to help so I can video. I'm gonna clean this up really good and look at that bearing. Before we do that, I'm going to crank it up and let you kind of see what that bearing is doing. I'm in neutral right now, so when I crank it up, this primary should be spinning. This secondary should not be spinning. But the reason you can't shift gears and the reason it's moving is because this is going to be turning the secondary. So let me show you. We'll fire it up. See that? It's spinning the secondary. So I got all kinds of issues right there. So I'm going to shut it off and we're going to fix this. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to take an 18 millimeter and take this primary apart. Remember, it's a left-hand thread, so it's actually turn it clockwise to loosen. On the 2021 800, at least my particular model, it's a 30 millimeter for this nut, 30 millimeter. I have seen them different. Some of them are 32, some of them are 30s. And again, that is clockwise to loosen. Now on your secondary, it's counterclockwise, it's normal. Yeah, I'm going to have to completely take this all apart, clean it up good. I'm going to take it to the bench to do that. And I'm going to get Joel's help on the bearing to check it all out. All right, so on the secondary, it's a 36 millimeter, counterclockwise to loosen. Don't lose those spacers. Yeah, that's bad. Look at all that mud there. You can see that is the owner's fault there, not CFMOTO. So this wouldn't be covered under warranty because I submerged it. So I gotta fix it myself. All right, so like I was just saying, that nut on the primary, the bigger nut is like on Joel. Joel has a 2021 model as well, and his has a 32 millimeter nut to take that off. Mine was a 30. So remember, it could be different. It's either a 32 or a 30. Mine was made earlier in the year. His was a newer 2021 model. For some reason it changed, I don't know why, but his is a 32, mine was a 30 millimeter. So just letting you know that. Boom, baby. Oh, yeah, show that. Look at that. That was in the bearing. We got this pretty doggone clean considering what it did look like. Alright, and I've cleaned up my secondary. Cleaned it up real good. And I cleaned my inner sheave on my primary. I cleaned my primary here, took it all apart, lined everything back up like it was supposed to, and where everything's going to be good, cleaned it real good. So here's the bearing, and as you can see, well, you should have seen when I think I just showed you where we took it off and it was packed with dirt and mud in there, so it's no good. And this is the replacement part from CFMOTO. I believe this is an $89 part from CFMOTO. You can get it right here at Main Street Cycle. So that'll be a new bearing that I'm going to put in here on the primary. And now listen, this is not a one-way bearing on the 800. Now don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure the CFORCE 400, 500, and CFORCE 600 has the one-way bearing, and it costs more. It actually costs more than this. I want to say it's over 100 bucks. I think somewhere around 130. But anyways, this here is $89, and that's what I'm having to pay to get this baby fixed and put on there. So remember, clean everything good, clean your clutches, inspect everything, inspect your belt while you're at it. We're just going to put this all back together, and we'll be ready to go. So this can go either way because it's not a one-way. It should shove on there all the way and spin both ways. Now on the CFORCE 600, it's only going to go one way, and you have to put it on a certain way. That's the CFORCE 600, 500, and 400, I'm pretty sure. I'll check with Joel and be sure on that, but anyways, he's busy working on some other stuff. Got a lot going on in the shop today. But I wanted to get this video out and make sure I could help y'all out on an issue that you could be having, especially if you get water or mud in your belt box. That's what's going to happen, and it was my fault for going too deep in the mud, so just be aware of that. Enter at your own risk. Alright, so Joel's making sure everything's lined up on the clutch. Alright, good deal. Now we got to put the bearing on. Well, go ahead and get the secondary. Alright, bearing on. Alright, so the 600 has the one-way bearing, CFORCE 600,
yep.
And also the 500 and 400?
Yep.
Alright, so remember that you have to put those on a certain way. But with the pretty much all the rest of the models, you can put that bearing on either way. There's no forward or backward side.
And 800EX don't have one.
800EX does not have one? Okay.
Internal one-way bearing.
Right, I got you. Alright. But what we're doing here is the 800 CFORCE, so should be alright. Boom.
Metal washer first.
Metal washer first. There we go. Spacer spring. Now line your lines up.
Here.
Yeah, everything's lined up.
Unless you've changed any of these parts, and then it won't have the marks.
Yeah, that's right. If your ramp plate was changed or you changed one half, then you won't have no lines, but in this case we do. And they're lined up. Left-handed threads. 30 millimeter on mine. Joel's is a 32 on his. Remember, that can be different. $18 millimeter. Oh yeah, this was a 36 right there. This is an 18 on this guy. Now we'll put the cover on and we'll be done. So that's that, guys. Make sure you put your belt cover on with the 8 millimeter socket and put it on evenly, and make sure your seal is right and can't get no water in that way. No squeals.
And this is sitting still.
Yeah, that's supposed to sit still. That's how it's supposed to work right there. Everything's fixed. Now we shut it off, we'll check everything, put the belt cover on, and put all those bolts on nice and even, and we'll be ready to rip. So hope that was helpful. As always, remember, keep it real. God bless you. We'll see you in the next one.